Hola world, it is Tuesday and I am just now getting back from a wild weekend in the wilderness on the water and I am worn out. I'm still wearing the same clothes. I decided after the yoga festival to come down to Kyle's Landing and just hang out, do some swimming, go to Triple Falls. There's a lot of, it's so close. And so when I was driving over to park next to the river, I get out of the van and I run into Shauna. And it was just so cool to see someone that you knew, like way out here in the wilderness, and just randomly friends of mine. I guess I know a lot of people, but still, it was cool. And one of the other cool things about it is that when I got here, my cooler, all the ice had melted and it was in the hot van out in the frickin' field all day. And so I guess everything ruined. I found this out, again, I didn't film any of this, but I found this out when I'm biting into a strawberry. I'm like eating a strawberry and I look into the package and I was like, oh, this strawberry smells funny. I look into the package, mold on the strawberry that I'm eating. And so then I'm like, well, if the strawberries are bad, what else is bad? And I get in there, my yogurt's bad. All my rice and beans might be okay. And I was thinking about eating those, but now that I actually have food, oh, we haven't got to that part of the story. Oh, let me finish it. So I'd gone through and figured out, how I'm going to sustain my life for the next day on the river. And I think my tomato is still good and my avocado is still good. So I have a tomato, an avocado, and one tortilla. And so I was going to make a tomato avocado tortilla, and then I've got a bag of cereal. Now originally I was hoping to make the connection with her in hopes of getting a shuttle back, because I was about to set out on a float trip that I really didn't know how I was getting back from. But they were leaving, they were headed back to Little Rock. But what they did do was leave me with some food. Now, oh my God, it's like being in paradise. Grapes, chilled grapes. Got some lunch meats, some tater chips, some apples, all this stuff. Which I had no food. After my cooler went bad and all my food ruined, it was a lifesaver. And it renews my confidence that not only is this possible, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be an awesome adventure setting out into the unknown. Not knowing what to expect and just taking what comes your way. Until you don't find a ride back. Yeah. And what came my way was food and friends and fellowship. It was incredible. And I hadn't even started floating yet. So the next morning I get up and get on the water, say goodbye to the guys from Kansas City, and took off. I run up on this bluff like almost instantly, and I'm thinking, oh, that would be an awesome rock to jump off of. How do I get up there? And it looked like there was some difficult climbing routes, but difficult, and it's high. So I was like, whatever, what else do I have to do? I'm gonna give it a shot. So I go to trying to climb up this bluff face to get up to the top so I can jump. And I actually did better than I thought, considering that I was completely wet and had no climbing shoes. But what did happen is I wound up tearing it's still pretty messed up, tearing my finger up and my foot. It wasn't that bad. And I'm not even sure how high I got up. I'll have to look at the video to see. But it felt like a long way when I actually went to fall. Fortunately, I'm falling into water. But I'm just getting warmed up for the day, so chalk it up to that. So I carry on, and I didn't run into anybody. I was hoping to, it's summertime. I had expected to see people on the river, but it was deserted. The entire float, I didn't run into another person in a canoe or kayak. I did run into a couple of people along the way that had driven down to swim in the river. So, I don't know where the hell I am. Where are we?
You're close to Irby.
But on one encounter, I sat and talked to this guy for a while who was barbecuing and had music going and the whole thing, trying to figure out where I could find people that could possibly shuttle me back to Kyle's Landing, which is where my van was. Yeah, well, I'm planning on hitchhiking back to my van. Is that a good place to get out to try and find somebody? And in the process of doing that, I realized that my bag, my dry bag full of everything I had, my drone, my camera, my hammock, my food, I mean everything except for my slackline was in there. In fact, at one point I had to get out of the boat to backtrack to go look for the bag because I knew where maybe it had fallen out. And there was a moment of panic. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know if it had continued to float while I was facing the other way, and so it was halfway down the river, or if it had come off upstream and gotten stuck someplace and I couldn't find it, or shit, maybe it sank. So I didn't know what to expect. But when I got out of the boat, the guy goes, I hope you got some pants in that bag. I was literally wearing a little Speedo, which was kind of funny because I too hoped that I had some pants because I was going to have to hitchhike, to get back to my van, and who's going to pick me up in no Speedos? I mean, there might be someone to pick me up, but probably not the person I want to pick me up. But I did. I wound up finding the bag, and it was exactly where I thought it would be, and it had just drifted off into some brush, and so... but that made me grateful. It gives me... I'm learning to focus on the positive things. When the water was low, and it was irritating to bump along, the bottom in certain spots, and you're not really kayaking, you're just like dragging ass. And so instead of being annoyed at that aspect of things, I was grateful for the times when I was over emerald green water that was crystal clear. I mean, you could see the fish 5-6 feet below you just swimming around. But I love the Buffalo. There's so many cool things to do there, and this was something new for me. As many times as I've floated it, I've never floated alone. And it adds a new dynamic to things, being out by yourself. I mean, I'm typically kind of a reckless, carefree guy that does just go jump off a cliff, do whatever, and not really think too much about it. But being on the river by yourself, out in the middle of nowhere, with no people, there's nothing around you, no roads. I mean, and I was looking. I was actually trying to make connections with people, and I didn't see anyone. There's a caution starts to creep in, which is a feeling I'm not used to. I remember setting up the line, and I climbed this tree, to put one end of the line in, and I'm up in this tree looking down at very shallow water from, 20 feet up going, man, if I fall off this, that could be bad, Or even still, the other side, I got on the slack line off of a cliff, and it's not the deepest water, and I'm just thinking, man, if I hit my head, if I get knocked out, I'm dead, I'm gone, it's done. And no one's going to find me until my body washes up. So there was a teeny bit more caution this time around. At that point, it was starting to get late, and I really just wanted to figure out where I was going to take out of. And I didn't have a map. I have no phone, no working phone, no service, no nothing. I can't load a map. And so it was just being out in the wild. Woo! I'd be eating tonight. Even though it's not exactly the middle of nowhere, it sure as shit felt like it. And so I thought I was going to have to float maybe all the way down to Tyler Bend, like sleep on the river that night, and carry on the next day. So I'm meanwhile rationing my food. And I run into another guy fishing on the river, and he told me that that there would be people camping at Ozark. And there was. And it wasn't that far. I got off the river just about dusk. And at first it was a little disheartening. I didn't really run into anyone that seemed like they were going to be helpful. But I did. I made the rounds around the campsite, and as much as it was awkward and uncomfortable to just go up to random strangers to talk to them, I had put myself in a situation where it was necessary, where I had to. If I wanted to get out of there, I had to talk to strangers. I had to make friends. And I find these two guys, a guy and a girl who had just gotten there from Bonnaroo. And they were headed to Steel Creek the next day, which passes right by Kyle's. So it looked like I was going to have to spend the night again on the river, but in good company. And they were good company.
Boys love it. You know what I love it? When you turn the radio up just loud enough up here, you can almost pretend they're not in the back yelling at each other.
I did wind up having a hike all the way down to Kyle's, though. We can be friends? We can be friends? That was a good distance. I had really imagined that surely someone would be coming in there that I could ride down with, but no. I hiked the entire way down. Lots of cars going out. No one going in. Got to the van, it was still there in one piece. Drove home, and here I am talking to you guys. But now, I'm gonna go shower, wash my clothes, and get ready for Taco Tuesday. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye!